I'm out here this morning, me and Hank, seeing if there's any damage out here at the cottage garden from all the hail yesterday. Rain. Hank's getting him a good old drink from some good old rainwater. I do want to take this time to send love and prayers to those that were devastated yesterday in these tornadoes and storms. Pray for the families, please. These storms just seem to never end this spring. You get a beautiful day like today, and tomorrow you've got life-threatening storms. It's been one heck of a spring. When I'm out in the garden, I always like to wear my aprons, one of my aprons. I always make sure that I've got string, pair of scissors, of course my glasses. That's just a couple things that's always in my pocket when I'm in the garden. It doesn't look like there's a lot of damage anywhere, but I do have in this bed, I've got some dill that was getting pretty tall. And I'm going to say that hail and that hard rain and the wind kind of beat it down. So I need to kind of tie it up. This is some beautiful dill. It's done really well, and I use a lot of dill in the summertime in my pickling, and I use fresh dill when I make my homemade ranch dressing and a lot of different recipes. So I grow quite a bit of it, but it did get beat down, and I'm going to try to tie it up a little bit, see if I can help it out any. It looks like my borage got beat down a little bit. Now it was really tall and getting pretty heavy, so I'm going to have to tie it up. I'm going to have to get me a stake and tie it up. But other than that, I mean, I've got some flowers and stuff beat down, but everything looks okay. I'm just going to take my string. I've got two of my half hoops here that have been here since I planted my garden that I use with my shade cloth and my tool and stuff, but everything's outgrowed it, so. But anyways, it'll be good to use. I'll just tie some string from side to side and help keep that dill from falling over if we get any more hard rain or anything. I do need to start harvesting some of it. It'll be a while before I get any cucumbers, though, to start pickling, or probably won't do a lot of pickling. Probably won't make a lot of pickles this year, so we've still got a pantry full of pickles, but I do like to make refrigerator pickles. So I'll put dill in it. I just love dill. I love to dry it and put it up too. My borage, yeah, it got broke down a little bit, so I need to get me something to tie it up to so it won't get damaged anymore. The bees absolutely, it's blooming, and the bees love the borage plant. I use the borage for a lot of things. I make tea. I put it in with my comfrey leaves and make tea and fertilize out of it. But it stays here mainly just to attract bees and butterflies and things that are good for your garden. I did plant some green beans in here. I pulled up the Brussels sprout plants, and because they were done, and I planted some green beans in their place, and some of them come up, some of them didn't. I don't know if somebody maybe stole some of the beans, like a rat or anything like that. They like to steal them beans. You see how tall this is? that borage plant. And I don't want it to break over. It's getting pretty heavy. So I can imagine after all that hail and rain that it did break, it tried to break over, but it's okay. So I'm just going to make me kind of like a teepee, and like you would a tomato plant or something, and take my twine and we'll tie it up, because I sure don't want it to break over. When you plant a garden and you baby things, you take care of it and you watch it grow and you fertilize it and just take care of it, and then all of a sudden something can happen to it. You just kind of do your best to try to save it and baby it because you took care of it all this time. And I'll do whatever I can for my bees. That's why I plant so many flowers, and wildflowers especially, in the cottage garden, because them bees, they're getting far and in between anymore. But this should help it and hold it up. We're supposed to get some more wind and some more storms plumb through Tuesday. And this is Saturday, so maybe it'll make it through another storm. I've got cabbage planted around this borage plant, and all four of them are doing excellent. There is not one thing eaten on those cabbage plants thus far. Plus the fact that I've kept tulle over my cabbage plants for a while, but this bed I kind of took the tulle off too, because everything was kind of outgrowing it, and I may have to put it back over my 4 cabbage plants. So the tulle has been a lifesaver for all my brassicas and cabbages, anything like that. If you've never used tulle, you can find it on eBay at a really cheap price. Buy it bulk. It is a lifesaver in your garden, let me tell you, especially when it comes to your early garden and your fall garden when you've got cabbage and brassicas and stuff. It's pretty hot today. It's about in the 80s. I've still got a few broccoli plants in this bed that still are growing a few broccoli heads, but it's getting so hot, and I'm going to go ahead and pull my tulle back over it. I've also got green beans and some celery and Swiss chard in here. So I'm going to pull my shade cloth back over it too, because that sun's really hard on the broccoli. And I'd really like to get them last little heads out of there before they start going the other way. And then that will pretty much be the end of my cold weather crops. And I'll be planting beans and stuff in place of them. My elephant ear finally has popped up through the dirt. My bell peppers are doing good. My clematis is climbing up the trellis. Everything's growing and getting so green. A lot of these beds, they're so full of wildflowers and flowers, but they're not all blooming right now. So it just looks like a bunch of weeds have grown up in there, but I'm telling you, the bees are going to love it. My scarlet runner beans are finally, they're finally all the way trying to the tip top of the trellis. That makes me happy. This one cabbage plant that I planted here, look at that beautiful head. Now I want you to look how pretty that plant is. There's not a worm. There's no holes in them leaves. I planted in this metal bucket with compost, kept it fed, and kept tulle over top of it, and it's just beautiful. Now, a lot of y'all have asked me about this little pond here. All this is when I first started this bed, I found it's just a little rectangular see-through tub I found in the shed. Didn't even have a lid to it, so I kind of dug down the dirt and just stuck it down in there and put some landscape rocks around it, and then just started planting flowers and stuff around it. And that's all that is. That's all that is. Every once in a while I have to go in there and refresh the water. The water gets pretty dingy even with the little fountain in it. But I do know that the wildflowers are not all going to bloom at the same time. You're going to have different blooms, different wildflowers, different flowers all blooming at different times. I've got some little tomatoes. These are a husky, I think that's what they're called. A sweet cherry husky. And I've got some cabbage plants in here, a couple of them. Now this is a different kind of cabbage. I forget the name of it, but they make kind of a pointy head. I could have told you any other day, but I've done forgot the name of it. But look how pretty the leaves are. There's nothing eating on it too. When I planted this bed, of course, y'all know that I've just loaded it down with flowers and different herbs. There's lots of herbs in there. You can't really see them, but they're in there. And I think all of that together kind of keeps a lot of the non-essential bugs off of your plants. So I'll be making some sauerkraut. Be fermenting some sauerkraut. You can see where some of that got beat down by the hail there in the middle of my bed. I'll have to pick all that up. Raise some of them flowers back up that got beat down. But both of the beds are doing really good. The calendula has really produced a lot of flowers. That bed right there has several medicinal herbs in it too, besides the calendula. And my little pond, I told Danny, I said, I've got 2 little frogs that's living in that little pond now. That's exciting. You don't see them right now, but they're there. Just 2 little frogs. They look almost like a tree frog, but Danny said they weren't tree frogs. The scarlet runner bees, I think these are so pretty. They make such a beautiful color bloom. It's an orangey red color. And you can see that it's started to go up over the trellis. And my gourds are finally starting to get tall enough that they're going to start climbing maybe here in a week or so. Start climbing that trellis too. In this bed, y'all know that I planted 3 of my yellow squash plants in here, and they have done so good, but we've had so much rain that the leaves were turning yellow. So y'all watched me mix up my fish emulsion and my comfrey and borage tea. Well, it's set for a week, and I come out here again, and I have soaked this whole bed in fish emulsion and my comfrey tea, and they're starting to perk up a little bit, but they are already producing little squash. And this is my tomatilla plant. I haven't planted these in a while. I used to grow a bunch of them, but I thought I'd just do a couple of plants this year and make some fresh verde. We do like verde sauce, so it'd be good to make some fresh. Y'all remember I told y'all I was going to make this my three sisters' bed, so let's talk about that. Okay, what you're seeing here, y'all remember me talking a few videos back in one of my gardening videos about planting. I was saving this bed for my three sisters' crop bed, and a lot of y'all didn't really know what that was. Native Americans, they were, you know, we can learn so much from them, and we really have. The whole concept of this is four different vegetables. Your main one is your corn. Your corn will grow, and it'll be like a trellis for your green beans. So you want to plant a bean. It don't even have to be green beans. In fact, I planted mainly purple whole peas, and to climb up my corn, because I've got green beans planted here and there, and that's really not one of Danny's favorite beans, but he does like field peas and purple whole peas and stuff like that. So my choice was to plant purple whole peas to climb up the corn. Your underplanting is like your squash, like butternut squash, acorn squash, some kind of, pumpkins. Of course, I couldn't grow any big pumpkins in here, but I did plant, you know what? I'm almost like, what kind of squash did I plant in here? I forgot to write it down, y'all. I do have a gardening book that I try to write stuff down, but I looked in there and I didn't write it down. I'm pretty sure that it's acorn squash or, I don't know. I'll have to look. I'll just have to look. What I'm going to have to do is go back and look at my open seed packets, what I'm going to do. So I should have done that before I even done this. But it is a squash plants, and there's several in here. But it's not big pumpkins that can't grow within this bed very well. So that's your squash will grow up and be a cover for your soil, to keep your soil moist, and to keep it from your nutrients just being drained plumb out by the sun. And of course your corn plays like a trellis for your peas or your green beans. So that's pretty much what the Three Sister Garden is about. And then they would even, that would be a main harvest, because they would use their fresh corn, whatever squash they grew, and then their beans, and they would make a stew or soup out of it. So it's very nutritious, and it's a really fun thing to do, especially with kids. I haven't ever done it. Well, I've done a very small, this is not a very big version of it, but I did do a smaller version of it one time in the back garden for my granddaughter. It didn't do so well. I'm hoping this one does better. And I even got me a little sign that I'm going to make up that says Three Sisters on it, and put it up front. I meant to get this done, and I haven't done it yet. But that's the main concept. I did fertilize, and then we did get of course we got a bunch of hail, and I was scared to death that my corn was going to be beat down, but it's not. But I have fertilized it since it's gotten big enough. And as this corn grows, I'm going to I'll fill it up just a little bit more with some good compost, because your corn gets really tall. And of course, if you were growing corn in the ground like we've always done, we have in the past grew 500-600 ears of corn. You pull that dirt up to your corn as it grows. Well, you can't hardly do that in here. So what you can do is just come back after it gets so big and just start putting a little more compost, a little more soil around your corn, and it'll be okay. So that is something that I do need to get done for sure, because some of them are really starting to take off and really grow. So that's the concept of the Three Sisters garden, and I hope this one turns out. I see I've got mushrooms growing in here, so what that tells me is I've got some good soil, some good compost in this garden. Some of my stuff I'm going to have to start pulling up. I've got a little bit of broccoli left that I'm going to probably here maybe a day or two. I'm going to go ahead and get them heads out of there before they start going the other way. I got radishes I need to pull up. I've been feeding my chickens a lot of greens here and there because it's going to start getting hot and the lettuces and stuff like that will start to bolt. But then everything else that loves the summer heat will really start growing. My tomatoes are looking really good. Starting to put some blooms on and even some little tomatoes. I'm not planting a lot of tomatoes this year, just enough for us to eat. And my beautiful sweet peas are growing right with them. I've even got some under cover crops, green beans, and then I leave this right here. It's kind of like a purslane. I'm not sure. I need to get my plant app out and I need to see exactly what that is. But this has been wonderful for undercrop to keep moisture in the ground. It doesn't really hurt the plants. I've done this several years in a row. I will pull some back if they start getting out of hand like these are a little bit, but I don't pull them all up because they do help to keep moisture. Right now we got a lot of moisture, but there will be times. Now these green peas, they're going to make me a few peas. In fact, I got some that are really getting full down here. These are just green sweet peas. They really bloom good, and there's some all in through there. And once these get done, because these are really a cooler weather crop, I'm going to come in, I'm going to go underneath, and I'm going to plant Mr. Brown some more field peas that'll climb this trellis, along with a couple of tomato plants and some green beans that's growing in there. This down through here, I've got to get on my hands and knees and get the weeds up. We've had a lot of rain, like I said, so I need to get that weeded. And among all that is a bunch of okra that has come up really, really well. My neighbor Jerry gave me some of his okra seed that he uses. I think it's kind of like a jambalaya okra. It don't get real long, kind of fat. And I know it's hard to see all of them, but they did all come up. My next project is to get out here and weed this little row. I've got some cantaloupe coming up down here that seem to really be thriving. My cabbage is doing really good here in these containers. Let me back this up a little bit. My mineral buckets, they seem to be doing really good. The mullein, we're going to have plenty of mullein to put up this year. We'll put up some dry leaves, and we'll also make tincture out of it. I know a lot of y'all would like to see us do that. There's lots of videos out there making mullein tincture. But things are starting to perk up. There's some potatoes that come up willy-nilly. We got a bunch of onions that are starting to fall over out in here. But this right here is Mr. Brown's potato bed. And we're letting it just rest this summer. We're going to let it rest and then just keep putting compost and, letting just letting nature do its thing. It needs to rest. Your soil sometimes, you need to switch back and forth your soils and stuff. We're not your soils, but your plants. If you grow potatoes here one year, you need to next year grow like squash or tomatoes over there or something. And then just back and forth switch them off. That's always been a really good place to grow potatoes, though, that end of the garden. But we're just letting that end rest this year. The mullein is really growing. We just let it seed itself pretty much once it gets pretty tall, and it'll start bolting and putting on a lot of seeds. And I'll gather some up and I'll just kind of straw some out or just let it do it itself. But we should have plenty of mullein this year. So, I'm going to have to pick my green peas, fertilize my cabbage, and I got Miss Adele up there. She watches over my garden. Miss Adele was one of my best friends, subscriber friends from over at Australia. She passed away, had a long fight with cancer. And you know what's funny? As she was drifting away so many years that me and her were friends, I supported her and she supported me in my adventure of YouTube. She sure didn't let nobody take advantage of me, that's for sure. So, Miss Adele, she looks over my garden now. Well, I think everything's looking pretty good. I'm going to go inside and get me a glass of ice water, clean up a little bit, and I need to start some lunch for me and Mr. Brown. I'm going to go in and make some homemade tortillas, so y'all come along with me. Okay, we are going to make us some good old buttery tortillas. This is the way that I like to make my tortillas. There's lots of recipes out there, but they're pretty much the same. I like using butter in mine. Just gives it a really good rich taste. And such simple ingredients that you already have. It doesn't really take much time to make them. I made homemade tortillas for my kids when they were all at home at the big farm. Anytime we had anything to do with tortillas, they were always homemade. I'm just taking 3 cups of all-purpose flour. My kids absolutely always loved the homemade tortillas. Now, usually a lot of recipes call for baking powder in the tortillas. You don't have to put baking powder in it. In fact, I'm not going to today. And since I'm going to be using salted butter, I'm only going to put a half a teaspoon of salt in here. If you're going to use unsalted, go ahead and put a whole teaspoon of salt. So I'll mix my flour and salt up, and now I'm going to put a stick of butter in here with a cup of water. And I'm going to stick this in the microwave for just about a minute. You don't want it scalding hot that you can't put your hand in it. You just want it hot enough to melt the butter. So it usually takes just about 1 minute to do that. If you don't use a microwave, you can do this on top of your stove. Okay, my butter's melted in with the water. 1 cup of water, a stick of butter. We got 3 cups of all-purpose flour and a half a teaspoon of salt. And remember, I didn't put any baking powder in here. Now, this is going to end up being a very sticky dough. And this is what you want to make a soft, pliable tortilla. But what I want you to do is, if you make this recipe, just start pouring your liquid just a little bit at a time. And stir it up real good. And it's usually always going to take that whole cup. This is going to be so sticky, it's going to drive you crazy, and you're going to want to put a little bit more flour in there, but don't do it. Don't do it, because that's why a lot of people end up with stiff, dense tortillas. They're not pliable. They're like cardboard. So your dough is going to be sticky. I'm going to pour the rest of my liquid in there and start mixing. And you're gonna want so bad to put some flour in there, but just keep mixing it. Just keep kneading it, because you're gonna want to knead this in your bowl for about 5 to 7 minutes, and you're gonna watch it all come together, and you're gonna watch it become just one beautiful ball of soft tortilla dough. So set your timer and just keep kneading it in this bowl, and you're going to see it all come together. If it don't drive you crazy first, I promise you, it will all come together. I set my timer for 5 minutes. I want you to see how this dough has come together, and you see how clean the bowl, how it has cleaned the bowl. You don't see any dough sticking to the bowl, no dough around the side or the bottom. And that took a good 5 minutes. And you see how soft and pliable my dough is. And if you'll be patient with it, yours will do the same thing. Now, if for some reason it's just one of them days that it's just not going to do it, put a little bit of flour on your hand, but not the dough, and just knead it, and that should help it. So we're going to leave it in the bowl, and we're just going to let it rest for about 30 minutes. Okay, my dough's been resting. It really doesn't have to rest no 30 minutes. 10, 15 minutes is plenty. But I went outside for a little bit and come back, so it's been about 30 minutes. Now, I just put a sprinkle of flour on my table, but not much. And I'm just going to knead this for just a couple minutes. Not even a couple minutes, just for a little bit. Just knead it and get it pliable And I've got me a pan here. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this very soft dough and just pinch off the size of tortillas that you want. I know what size I like, so I'm just going to pinch off. They're about the size of a golf ball, maybe. If you like them really big, pinch them bigger. If you like them smaller, pinch it smaller. You know, I pinched so many hot rolls when I worked in the cafeteria that I could do it with my eyes closed and get it done pretty quick. I could pinch out 600 rolls pretty quick. I can't do it anymore, y'all. My old fingers they just can't. I can't bend and twist and and do that anymore. But I am going to pinch these off, and how many you get depends on how big your tortilla balls are that you make. But this will make several. I mean, it should make a dozen at least. And I'm just going to put them in here. You can put them in a bowl, or you can separate them on a cookie sheet, whichever you want to do. Because we're going to douse them just a little bit with just a little bit of oil. You can use vegetable oil. I'm going to use my good old olive oil. Just kind of pat them and oil them down a little bit. You know, making homemade tortillas is really easy. And you just can't beat a homemade tortilla. Some people use lard. I just like to use butter. I just like the taste of the buttery tortilla. There's not a wrong way to make them. I'm going to pinch a little bit off that one. It's a little bit too big, and I'm going to add it to one of my smaller ones. So what we're going to do is we're going to cover this up. You can cover it with your tea towel or plastic wrap or whatever. Now we're going to let these sit for 30 minutes this time. Last time was just about 10 or 15 minutes. We're going to let them sit. I'm going to go outside again and do a few things, and we'll come back and we'll make our tortillas. Then we'll make us some fajitas or something for lunch. Our dough has been sitting for 30 minutes. Now you can sprinkle just a little tiny bit of flour on your table. Or what I do is I just put just a little bit of olive oil and kind of spread it on the table just to keep it from sticking. But I'm going to use my rolling pin. I do have a tortilla press, but I just don't want to get it out and use it. A lot of y'all don't have tortilla presses. Now, there's one thing that I can tell you that I'm not good at anymore, and that's rolling out a perfectly round tortilla. I can't do it. I can roll out a pie crust, but for some reason I cannot roll out a perfect round tortilla. But they still taste really good, y'all. So don't never feel intimidated because you can't roll one out either in a circle. In fact, I kind of like a kind of a rectangle oblong tortilla anyways. Seems to hold your all your good stuff in the middle better to me. But you want to roll it out pretty thin. It'll be a lot more tender that way and soft, and you can roll it up and it won't be stiff and dense and hard. So you can see that this is a square tortilla, a rectangle tortilla. It's not a round one. Oh man, I should have got my press out, but it'll be good. I got my skillet heating over on the stove and it's getting pretty hot. I'm I'm not going to put any oil in the skillet. Just leave your skillet dry and put it on like a medium-high heat. Just lay your tortilla in there like this. And you'll watch it as it starts to cook. You'll watch it start turning colors. I don't mean it ain't going to turn a different color, but you can tell the color of the tortilla kind of turns different. Now, a lot of recipes, like I said, they want you to put baking powder in there, but either way, they're still going to puff up and still be good. There's really no reason that you have to put baking powder into your tortillas. They will start to puff up. And you'll just keep an eye on them. I wanted to kind of do this in real time so you could see how they cook and how long it really take on each side. So you can see how they're puffing up. Then you just want to flip it. Just like that. I might cook this one just a little bit too long on that side, but it'll be okay. I won't cook it as long on the other side. I like my tortillas to be good and pliable, soft. So you don't have to really cook them to death and get them to where they won't be pliable. And I've got a tortilla warmer over here. Keeps your tortillas warm. I use it all the time. Just stick it in there. You see, I've already got some made in there. Keeps them good and warm. Kind of steams them in there. Makes them more pliable. Okay, I'm going to make one more for you. Make sure you get the creases kind of, that way they get cooked. You know, when my kids were home, we didn't run to the store. We probably went to the store just every other week. And anything that we could make at home, homemade. Of course, we made homemade, and tortillas was one of them. Store-bought just did not taste as good anyways. So they grew up knowing the taste of a good homemade tortilla. And whether if you use butter or lard or oil, they're always good. I can take a homemade tortilla and just spread butter on it and eat it. I just like sometimes to take refried beans and a little bit of cheese and just make me a bean burrito or something. It's so good. But I think today I'm going to make a little bit of chicken fajita meat. And just use whatever I've got in the refrigerator and make us some type of fajitas. Now we won't need all these tortillas, so what I'll do is I'll flash freeze the others that I don't use. I'll just leave them in a ball, the raw dough ball, flash freeze them, and then I'll throw the little balls in a baggie. And when I want like 3 or 4 tortillas, I'll just take them out of the freezer and thaw them out in the refrigerator, separate them out and thaw them out, and then roll them out. And I'll have some easy, quick tortillas for me and Mr. Brown. It's not any different than if you freeze hot rolls or anything like that. You just flash freeze them little dough balls and throw them in a baggie and just get out what you need when you need it. Be careful and don't burn your fingers like I do half the time. Mr. Brown's on a fishing tournament today, so when he gets in, he can have him some homemade tortillas. So we're on our last one. And see how pliable that is. That's a good pliable tortilla coming straight out of the skillet. Stick it in there and let it stay warm and kind of steam, and they'll stay pliable in there. It'll be good. I'll take one out. This was one that I made earlier. You can see you can roll it up just like that, and it's a pliable tortilla. Soft and buttery. Not perfect. Not perfectly round, but tastes really good, y'all. But you can get you a tortilla press. I just didn't want to get mine out. I've had that tortilla press for 20 years or more. Okay, let's make us a fajita. I've got some chicken breast here that I just put some cumin and garlic and chili powder, salt and pepper, and just made like a fajita mix seasoning and put on there. Chopped it up. And put me a little bit of cheese. And I've got, instead of lettuce, I've got some kale and some shredded broccoli stalks that I'm going to put on there. It'll be good for me. The kale's really good. It's not real bitter or anything. Now I've got some tomatoes. Now these tomatoes I bought at the store. We don't have any fresh tomatoes yet. I'm going to put me some purple onion on here. And I've got some roasted verde sauce here. Salsa verde. Well, it's a little bit spicy, so I don't want to put much on there. But there we go. There's our lunch/supper. So let's taste it. I know it's going to be so good with these homemade tortillas. It's really good, y'all. Nothing like homemade tortillas. Well, I want to thank y'all for hanging out with me in my simple life. Maybe this rain will stop soon. It'll be so hot and so dry before you know it. But our prayers and thoughts are with those still that was devastated with this storm again. God bless everybody. Take care. And be safe. Mr. Brown gets in from his tournament. We'll see how good he done.